about some of the things that have been happening, and then I want to explain in a little more detail kind of a deeper understanding of communion and what it means to share the bread and the wine. I wanted to start out, I had two interesting connections this week. As president, when the central office gets calls that they don't know what to do with, I get to answer them. And one was from a gentleman in Oklahoma, and he had read Reverend Anna Wolfeden's book about the Garden Church, the church in San Diego that is in an old, empty lot in the middle of San Pedro. And she wrote a book about this. It's called At God's Table. And it says in there that all people are welcome at God's table. And that just drew him in because it's something he felt within his heart he'd always believed. But he had grown up in a very conservative Baptist, Southern Baptist tradition. And it was kind of, you need to believe this way, you need to think this way in order to come to the table, to be accepted by the Lord. And he was just blown away thinking that there was a church, a group of people that acknowledged Jesus and the love of Jesus, but still the table was open to all. So then he watched our virtual convention. And he said, I sat there and I wasn't able to be present with any of you, but yet I felt a part of you. I felt that was my church home. And he's looking for a church to join. He's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he was hoping there was one near because they don't have a car. And so I was able to connect him with our online community, our Swedenborgian online community, and they're going to do some confirmation so he can become a member because that's what he wants in his heart. He wants to be a member. And the second was from a woman from Warsaw, Missouri. And I had to look up, where is Warsaw, Missouri? Well, it's pretty much not near anywhere. And she too had found the online community and listened to some of their services, and that there's Off the Left Eye videos that are produced and put out there, and she'd been watching. And she wanted to know where there was a church that she could join near her. Well, the closest one is St. Louis, Missouri, which is 225 miles away from Warsaw, Missouri. And I just thought, sometimes we come to church here and we take for granted what we have. But it was just encouraging to me to know that people are out there searching, and if we can figure out a way to offer virtually the community, I think we'll be able to offer to some people that otherwise feel that nobody thinks like they do. And so that was really, really encouraging to me. When I was talking to the gentleman from Oklahoma, he said he had been brought up in a church of fear. Fear of not doing things right, fear of not being good enough, fear that God was going to come down and rain wrath and make terrible things happen in his life. And how difficult that had been to relate to a God of fear, and how he was looking for a God of love and a God of acceptance. And he said that he felt, after listening to things, that all that was expected within our tradition is that you try to do a little better every day. You try to be a little kinder every day. You just continue to try to get closer to God. And that creates that relationship and that filling you with what you need to carry on and to keep doing things. So that's kind of what brought me to the front of our bulletin today. If you want to look at that, this again, like Joyce said, this is something that just came across the internet, but it really resonated with me. So I thought it would be helpful for us to read this together. Don't give up on this year. Keep fighting for the good. Keep showing up. Keep loving. Keep giving back. Keep being kind. Keep being brave. Keep caring. Keep trying new things. Keep showing grace. Keep on. This world needs you to believe in the good. Keep caring. Keep being kind. We talked today in Sunday school about Jesus healing the paralytic and how we can become paralyzed in not knowing what to do next, or almost not knowing how to take our next breath. You know, this pandemic has killed thousands of people that would otherwise be here, tens of thousands of people that would otherwise be here. Our earth is burning, and we seem to be ignoring what we need to do for our planet. People are being killed in our streets just because of their color, the color of their skin. Immigrant children are separated from their loved ones, and we continue to treat immigrants as less valuable than Americans, where we're all neighbors and we're all one. And what we do to someone else, we're basically doing to ourselves. And as I listed these things, it just kind of made me tired and sad. And we hear, one of the things that I'm working on right now is we're trying to create some discussion groups about the racism issue. And so we're going to start on December 12th, which is an interesting day to start talking about racism and exclusion. It's been renamed Discovery Day. It's not just Columbus Day, it's Discovery Day. So I thought it was a good time for us to start as a denomination to discuss this issue. There have been groups that have been working individually in churches. I know Allison's church has been studying How to Be an Anti-Racist, a book. And out in the Garden Church, they've been having discussions every 2 weeks on different things to read and how to bring this together. And so Manifold Angels on Facebook is a group of Swedenborgians that have been getting information out to study and ideas on what we can do. So we're going to start this within our tradition nationwide. We're going to open up, you can join the Zoom group, and I'm hoping it'll be a large group to start with, and then I have people that have agreed to work as anchors to separate into smaller discussion groups. So I just, I went to the discussion group at the Garden Church yesterday, and they were saying it seems like, it's just so discouraging. I don't know what to do. And I thought back, and I talked about what Swedenborg tells us. Like I said before, find one thing to work on. And to me, this is very hopeful that our eyes are being opened right now to what's happening with racism on our streets. Both police brutality, but within all of us, that systemic racism that we grew up with. That when we drove through what I remember my family would call the bad part of town, we'd lock the doors in the car and roll up the windows. And one of the things I listened to yesterday was a black person saying, you don't know what it's like to drive by a family in a car that is just parked, and because you drive by, they lock their doors. And you can hear that, with the automating. There's just so much that we need to do, and to look within us for that racism that we don't even know is there. And what they were saying is there's no such thing as a non-racist. We think, I'm not racist. But if you honestly look at the things that we grew up in and the water we swam in when we were growing up, sometimes we just feel like we're better than other people. I felt it. I know. Sometimes I just feel that white privilege. And we've got to root it out in order to do anything about it. So I'm really thinking one thing I think we can do as a church, and this, in some ways it sounds simple, but it's really, really hard, is to be kind. What can we do to live the kindness that Jesus showed us? Because right now, the lack of kindness in our world is pretty endemic. It just seems like everybody wants what they think is right instead of looking out for what is kind to do to one another. I was reading some work by Diana Butler Bass. She was at our convention in Philadelphia in 2017. And she wrote that kindness involves empathy and sympathy, the capacity to celebrate, to accept, and to serve others, and being both truthful and gentle. And her hope was that we're reaching toward that renewal of life, that we're actually in a place where we're having a cultural evolution. But it's not easy. Kindness is not always easy, and we can be aware of it, but it's a lot harder to try and live it. And part of the problem within our country, too, is we think that this is a new problem. And it's not. Psychologists have studied narcissism in the U.S., that feeling that what you need and that you're more important than everyone else. And they feel that it started to increase in 1979. And I'm not sure what happened in 1979. I'm sure it was a gradual, it wasn't an overnight, but this feeling, our nation has become much more what's best for me, each man and each woman for themselves. Put America first. Protect our way of life no matter what it does to the rest of the world, our neighbors. And this is growing, but we can turn it around. We can. But it's each of us at a time, and we can turn it around in our little circle. And maybe it's that smile of kindness. If somebody sees us doing something kind, then it passes on and on and on. So I continue to be an optimist. There were several quotes about kindness that just touched my heart, and I made a copy for everybody. And there's actually, I'm going to put it at the back when we're done with our service. There's copies. You can take an extra if you think of somebody else that might, not that you want to tell them, you need to be kinder, but you might be able just a suggestion or to think. Because I find I have quotes, I really resonate with quotes and how people put into words the things that I would like to be able to. The first one was from Henry James, a reader of Swedenborg. He said there are 3 things in human life that are important. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. And the third is to be kind. Maya Angelou wrote, "My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish the world, astonish the mean world with your acts of kindness." And Rabbi Harold Kushner said, "When you are kind to others, it not only changes you, it changes the world." Diana Butler Bass, as I mentioned previously, she said, "Don't call people names, don't send mean tweets. Kindness is countercultural, a real evolution. Try it, be nice." And from our scripture in Colossians, we read, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." And His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, "Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible." And our friend Swedenborg said, "Kindness is an inner desire that makes us want to do good things, even if we do not get anything in return. It's the joy of our life to do them. When we do good things from this inner desire, there is kindness in everything we think, say, and want to do. Blessed be the tie that binds, kindness." We'll sing number 213.